The bride froze at the church entrance, her bouquet trembling in her hands. This should have been the happiest moment of her life. The white dress, the flowers, the music. Everyone waiting inside with smiles and cameras ready. But Faith could not take another step forward. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please like, share and subscribe and let us know which part of the world you're watching this story from. Faith's eyes had found him in the crowd, a man in an expensive grey suit standing near the front row. His hair had touches of silver. His face looked calm and dignified as he laughed with other guests. To everyone else, he was just the groom's father who had flown in from abroad, a respected businessman, a stranger Faith was meeting for the first time. But Faith knew him differently. She knew the taste of the whiskey he drank. She knew the hotel rooms he preferred. She knew the exact amount of money he used to slip into envelopes after their nights together. And now, 4 years later, on her wedding day, she discovered the terrible truth. The man who used to pay her for her body was about to become her father-in-law. That man was supposed to be her father-in-law. The father of David, the man she was about to marry. The man she loved with all her heart. But Faith knew him as something else. Someone else. Someone from a past she had buried deep inside her soul. Her hands started shaking. The bouquet of white roses trembled in her grip. "Faith, are you okay?" her best friend Sarah whispered beside her. Sarah was her maid of honor, wearing a soft pink dress. Faith could not answer. Her throat felt tight. Her mind was spinning. How could this be happening? How could fate be so cruel? The man turned. For one terrible second, their eyes met across the room. Faith's breath stopped. Did he recognize her? Would he say something? Would he destroy everything right here, right now? But he just smiled politely and looked away, turning back to his conversation. Maybe he did not remember. Maybe she was just one of many girls to him. The thought made her feel sick and relieved at the same time. "Faith," Sarah touched her arm. "Everyone is waiting. Are you nervous?" I need a minute," Faith whispered. Before Sarah could respond, someone else appeared. It was David, her groom, her love. His face was glowing with happiness. His dark eyes sparkled with joy. He looked so handsome in his black suit, with a white rose on his chest. "There's my beautiful bride," he said softly, taking her hand. His touch was warm and gentle. "I know I'm not supposed to see you before the wedding, but I couldn't wait. I had to tell you how lucky I am, how much I love you." Faith felt tears burning in her eyes. But they were not happy tears. "David, she started to say. "Shh," he smiled. "I know weddings are stressful. My mum has been driving everyone crazy with her planning, but in a few minutes it will just be you and me, husband and wife. Forever. Forever." The word echoed in Faith's mind like a curse. How could she have forever with David when his father knew her darkest secret? When his father was part of that secret? "Are you feeling okay?" "You look pale," David said, concern filling his voice. He touched her cheek gently. Just nervous," Faith managed to say. "Wedding jitters, you know." David laughed. "I understand. My hands are shaking too. See?" He held up his hand, and it was trembling slightly. "But we'll get through this together. Like we always do. Like we always will." He kissed her forehead and walked back inside the hall. Faith watched him go. Her heart was breaking into a million pieces. "I need to go to the bride's room," she told Sarah suddenly. "I need a moment. Please." "But Faith, the ceremony is about to start." "Please," Faith's voice cracked. Sarah looked worried but nodded. Okay. I'll tell them you need 5 minutes." Faith rushed down the hallway. Her heels clicked loudly on the marble floor. She found the small room they had prepared for her. She locked the door behind her and collapsed on the couch. The tears came then, hot and heavy. They poured down her cheeks and ruined her makeup. She did not care. Her mind went back to a time she tried so hard to forget. 4 years ago. Faith was 20 years old. She was studying medicine at college. Her dream was to become a doctor, to help people, to make her parents proud. Her family was not rich. Her father worked in a small shop. Her mother took care of the home. They saved every penny to send Faith to college. She was their hope, their pride, their only daughter. But then the fees increased. The college demanded more money. Her parents tried everything. They borrowed from relatives. They sold her mother's jewelry. But it was not enough. "I am sorry, my daughter," her father had said, his eyes filled with shame. "We cannot pay any more. You have to come home. Maybe you can work in the shop with me." "No," Faith had cried. "Please, Papa, I am so close. Just 2 more years. I will become a doctor. I will make you proud." "We have no money left," her mother said sadly. "What can we do?" Faith remembered sitting in her small dorm room that night. She was crying. Her dreams were dying. Everything she worked for was slipping away. Then her friend Maya came to her. Maya was also a medical student, but Maya always had money, nice clothes, expensive phone. Faith never understood how. "I know how you can get money," Maya had said quietly. "How?" Faith had asked desperately. "I will do anything. I will work anywhere." Maya sat down beside her. "There is a way. Other girls do it. Rich men, they pay girls like us. For company. For, you know." Faith's eyes had gone wide. "You mean—" "I am not saying it's perfect," Maya said quickly, "but it's fast money. Good money. Enough to pay your fees. And these men, they are clean. They are safe. They just want someone young and pretty to spend time with." "I cannot," Faith had whispered. "That is wrong. That is survival," Maya interrupted. "Look, I know it sounds bad. I thought the same thing at first, but then I tried it. Just once, and the money was enough for my entire semester. The man was nice. He took me to dinner. We talked, and then, well, it was quick. And then I left with enough money to continue my dreams." Faith had felt sick, but also curious, also desperate. "Just think about it," Maya had said. "I am going to the club tomorrow night. If you want to come, meet me at 10. That night, Faith could not sleep. She thought about her parents, about how hard they worked, about how they believed in her. Could she really do something so shameful? But then she thought about quitting college, about never becoming a doctor, about working in her father's shop for the rest of her life, about her dreams dying before they even had a chance to live. The next night, she met Maya outside the club. "I knew you would come," Maya smiled. "Don't be scared. I will be with you. Just be pretty, be sweet, and let the man lead." The club was dark and loud. Music pounded through the walls. People danced under colored lights. Everything smelled like perfume and alcohol. Maya led her to the VIP section. That is where the rich men sat. Men in expensive suits, men with gold watches, men with grey in their hair and money in their wallets. "That one," Maya whispered, pointing to a man sitting alone. "He comes here often. He is generous, and he is gentle. Try with him." Faith looked at the man. He was older, maybe in his late 40s. He had kind eyes, a nice smile. He was drinking whiskey and looking bored. I don't know what to do," Faith said, her voice shaking. "Just go talk to him, smile, act interested. He will do the rest." Maya pushed her gently. Faith took a deep breath. She walked over to the man. Her legs felt like jelly. "Hi," she said softly, sitting down beside him. The man looked at her. His eyes brightened. "Well, hello there. I haven't seen you here before." It's my first time," Faith admitted. "Is it now?" The man smiled. "You look nervous." "A little," she said. "Don't be." "I'm Richard. What's your name?" "Faith." "Beautiful name. For a beautiful girl." Richard signaled the waiter. "What would you like to drink?" They talked for an hour. Richard was actually nice. He asked about her studies, about her dreams. He seemed genuinely interested. Faith almost forgot why she was there, but then Richard leaned close. "Would you like to go somewhere more private? I have a room upstairs. We can talk more comfortably." Faith's heart raced. This was it, the moment of choice. She thought about her college fees, about her parents, about her dreams. "Okay," she whispered. What happened in that room, Faith tried to forget. She closed her eyes. She pretended to be somewhere else. Richard was not rough, but it still felt wrong. It still felt like she was selling a piece of her soul. Afterward, Richard gave her an envelope. "You're a sweet girl, Faith. If you ever need anything, you know where to find me." Inside the envelope was more money than Faith had ever seen. Enough for her entire semester, maybe more. She went back to her dorm and cried, but the next day she paid her fees. She stayed in college. And the worst part? A month later, when the money ran out and the bills came again, she went back to that club, back to Richard, back to that room. It became a routine, once a month, sometimes twice. Richard always paid well. He even started to care about her in his own way. He asked about her grades, he celebrated when she passed her exams. "You're going to be a wonderful doctor," he would say. "I'm helping you achieve your dreams." That's something good, right? But Faith never felt good. She felt dirty, ashamed. She told her parents she had a part-time job at a hospital. They were so proud. They had no idea. This went on for 2 years. Until finally, Faith graduated. She became Dr. Faith. She got her degree. Her dreams came true. The last time she saw Richard, she told him, "This is over. I don't need this anymore. I have my degree. I have a job. Thank you for everything. But I cannot do this again." Richard had looked sad but understanding. "I knew this day would come. You're too good for this life. Go, be the doctor you were meant to be. Forget about me." And Faith did, or at least she tried. She got a job at a good hospital. She worked hard. She was good at her job. People respected her. She was Dr. Faith now. Not that scared girl from the club. That was where she met David. He was a volunteer at the hospital. He came from a rich family, but he spent his time helping poor patients. He paid for their medicines. He sat with them when they were scared. Faith noticed him first. How could she not? He was kind. He was handsome. He treated everyone with respect, whether they were rich or poor. One day, David brought coffee to the nurse's station. "You all work so hard," he said with a smile. "You deserve something nice." Faith had been there. Their eyes met. Something sparked. "You're Dr. Patel, right?" David asked. "I've seen you with patients. You're really good." "Thank you," Faith said, blushing. "And you're the volunteer who pays everyone's bills." David laughed. "Guilty. Money should be used for good, right?" They started talking more, then having coffee together, then lunch, then dinner, then dates. David made Faith feel clean again. Pure, like she was worthy of love. He did not know about her past, and she was too afraid to tell him. 6 months later, David proposed. "Marry me, Faith. I want to spend my life with you. You make me better. You make me want to be the best version of myself." Faith said yes, because she loved him, because he made her forget who she used to be. But there was a problem. David's father lived abroad for work. He had not met Faith yet. Only David's mother had met her, and she loved her immediately. "You're perfect for my son," David's mother had said. "Beautiful, educated, and so humble. I'm so happy he found you." The wedding was planned. David's father said he would fly in for the ceremony. "I can't wait to meet the woman who stole my son's heart," he had said on the phone. And now, on her wedding day, Faith finally understood who David's father was. Richard, the man from the club, the man who paid her, the man she slept with for money. That man was her father-in-law, back in the present. Faith sat in the bride's room, her mind reeling from the memories. How could she marry David now? How could she look Richard in the eyes every holiday, every family dinner, every birthday? What if Richard told David? What if he did not, but held it over her head forever? What if David found out later and hated her for lying? There was a knock on the door. "Faith, it's time," Sarah called. "Everyone is waiting." Faith looked at herself in the mirror. Her makeup was ruined from crying. Her eyes were red. She looked like a mess. She quickly fixed her makeup. She took deep breaths. Maybe Richard did not remember her. Maybe it would be okay. Maybe she could pretend nothing was wrong and live with this secret forever. But could she? Could she really build her marriage on such a huge lie? Faith opened the door. Sarah was waiting with a worried expression. "Are you okay? Should I tell them you need more time?" "No," Faith said quietly. "Let's do this." They walked back to the hall. The music started playing. Everyone stood up and turned to look at her. Faith walked down the aisle slowly. Her father held her arm, smiling proudly. At the altar, David was waiting. His face lit up when he saw her. He mouthed the words, "I love you." Faith's eyes drifted to Richard. He was standing in the front row next to David's mother. He was smiling. But when his eyes met Faith's, the smile froze. His face went pale. He recognized her. Faith's legs almost gave out. Her father had to support her. "Are you okay, my daughter?" her father whispered. "Yes, Papa," she lied. She reached the altar. Her father kissed her forehead and gave her hand to David. David squeezed her hand gently. The pastor began to speak. "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today." Faith could not hear the words. Her mind was screaming. She looked at Richard again. He was staring at her with wide eyes, shocked, confused, maybe even afraid. David's mother noticed. "Richard, are you feeling well? You look strange." "I'm fine," Richard said quickly, but his voice was shaky. The ceremony continued. Prayers were said, blessings were given. And then came the moment Faith had been dreading. "David," the pastor said, "do you take Faith to be your lawfully wedded wife? To have and to hold from this day forward?" "I do," David said clearly, his eyes full of love. "And Faith," the pastor turned to her, "do you take David to be your lawfully wedded husband? To have and to hold from this day forward?" This was it. The moment of truth. All she had to say was "I do," and it would be done. She would be married. The secret would be buried. Life would go on. But could she live with that secret? Could she look at David every day, knowing she lied to him? Could she sit at family dinners with Richard, knowing what they shared? "Faith," the pastor said again, "do you take David to be your husband?" The room was silent. Everyone was waiting. David was smiling, expecting her to say yes. Faith looked at David, at his kind face, at his loving eyes. He deserved the truth. He deserved better than lies. Then she looked at all the guests, at her parents, who looked so proud, at David's mother, who welcomed her so warmly, at Sarah, who was her best friend, and at Richard, who looked like he might collapse. Faith reached for the microphone stand next to the pastor. She pulled it closer. "Wait," she said. Her voice echoed through the speakers. Everyone looked confused. David's smile faded. "Faith, what are you doing?" he asked softly. "I'm sorry," she whispered to him. Then she spoke louder, to everyone. "I have something to say. Before I say I do, there is something you all need to know." "Faith, what is this?" David's mother asked, looking worried. Faith took a deep breath. Her hands were shaking so hard she almost dropped the microphone. "I built my relationship with David on a lie," she said, her voice cracked, "and I cannot build my marriage on a lie too." Gasps filled the room. People started whispering. David looked shocked. "What are you talking about?" he asked. "Let me finish," Faith said, tears streaming down her face. "Please, let me say it all." The room went silent again. All eyes were on her. "I come from a poor family," Faith began. "When I was in medical college, my parents could not afford the fees anymore. They told me to drop out. But I could not. I wanted to be a doctor so badly. It was my only dream." Her mother was crying now. Her father looked confused. "So I did something terrible," Faith continued. Her voice was shaking. "I did something I am so ashamed of. I needed money, fast money. So I went to a club, and I met men, rich men, and I slept with them for money." The room exploded. People started talking loudly. Some gasped, some looked disgusted. David's mother put her hand over her mouth. "Faith," her mother cried out, "what are you saying?" "I am saying the truth, Mama," Faith said, tears blurring her vision. "I did this for 2 years, until I graduated. I told you I had a job at the hospital. But I lied. I was selling myself to pay for college." Her father looked like someone had punched him. He sat down heavily in his chair. Faith looked at David. He was standing frozen. His face was pale. His eyes were filled with tears. "I am so sorry, David," she said, her voice breaking. "I should have told you. I wanted to tell you so many times. But I was scared. Scared you would leave me. Scared you would judge me. Scared you would hate me." "Faith," David whispered. Why are you telling me this now?" Here, Faith looked at Richard. He was standing very still. His face was white as a sheet. "Because," Faith said slowly, one of the men I slept with for money, is here, right now, at our wedding." The room went completely silent. You could hear a pin drop. Who? Someone whispered. Faith did not say his name, she just looked at Richard. Everyone followed her gaze. They all turned to look at Richard. David looked at his father, then at Faith, then back at his father. No, David said, his voice barely audible. No, that's not possible. Richard's face crumpled. He looked down at the floor. Dad! David's voice was louder now, angry, hurt. Dad, is this true? Richard did not answer. He just stood there, his head bowed. Answer me, David shouted. Is what she's saying true? Did you sleep with my fiancée? I didn't know, Richard finally said, his voice desperate. I swear, David, I didn't know she was the woman you were going to marry. I never saw her picture. I was abroad. I only came back today. I had no idea. David's mother stood up. Richard? What is he talking about? What did you do? I am so sorry, Faith said, looking at David. I am so sorry. I wanted to tell you. I should have told you, but I was a coward. I was selfish. I wanted my happy ending so badly that I was willing to lie for it. David was crying now, real tears running down his face. How could you? How could both of you? I love you, Faith said desperately. David, I love you so much. What I did in the past, I did to survive. But what I feel for you, that is real. That is true. Don't, David said, holding up his hand. Don't talk to me right now. I can't even look at you. He turned and walked out of the hall. Everyone watched him go. Faith started to follow, but Sarah stopped her. Give him a minute. Let him process. Faith stood there in her wedding dress, crying in front of hundreds of people. Her parents looked devastated. David's mother looked angry and confused. The guests were all whispering and pointing. After a few minutes, David came back. His eyes were red from crying, but his face was calmer. Faith, he said quietly, come with me. We need to talk, alone. They went to a small room off the side of the hall. David closed the door. They stood facing each other. For a long moment, neither spoke. Why did you do it? David finally asked. Why did you tell everyone like that? Why couldn't you have told me privately, before the wedding? You humiliated both of us in front of everyone. Because I couldn't marry you with this secret, Faith said. It was eating me alive, David. The moment I saw your father, I knew I couldn't go through with this without telling the truth. You slept with my father, David said, his voice full of pain. My father. Do you know how that makes me feel? Do you know how disgusting that is? I didn't know he was your father, Faith cried. I was a scared girl who needed money. He was just a man at a club. I never imagined. But you did it, David said. You made that choice. You sold yourself. Yes, Faith admitted, I did. And I am not proud of it. I am ashamed. But David, I was desperate. My family had nothing. My dreams were dying. I made a terrible choice. But I did it to survive. David ran his hands through his hair. He looked exhausted. Did you ever love me? Or was I just another rich man you could use? No, Faith grabbed his hands. No, David, please don't think that. I love you. I fell in love with you the moment I met you. You made me feel clean again. You made me feel worthy. Everything I feel for you is real. David pulled his hands away. But you lied to me. For months, you let me plan this wedding. You let me introduce you to my mother. You let me fall in love with you, all while hiding this huge secret. I know, Faith whispered. I am sorry. I am so sorry. They stood in silence for a while. Faith could hear people talking outside, probably gossiping about the scandal. I need to know something, David said finally. If my father wasn't here today, would you have ever told me? Faith thought about lying, but she had done enough of that. I don't know, she admitted. I wanted to tell you, but I was scared, so maybe not. David nodded slowly. At least you're honest now. Does that mean? Faith could barely speak. Does that mean you hate me? That it's over? David looked at her, really looked at her tear-stained face, at her trembling hands, at her white wedding dress. I don't hate you, he said quietly. I'm angry. I'm hurt, I'm confused, but I don't hate you. Then what do we do? Faith asked. Do we cancel the wedding? Do we end everything? David was quiet for a long time. Faith waited, her heart pounding. When I fell in love with you, David said slowly, I fell in love with all of you. Not just the parts you showed me, but the whole you, the good and the bad, the past and the present. David, let me finish, he said. What you did, it was wrong. Lying to me was wrong. But I understand why you did it. I understand the pressure you were under, the desperation you felt, and I understand that you were trying to survive. Faith started crying again. I don't deserve you. Maybe not, David said with a sad smile. But you know what? I don't deserve a lot of things I have. I was born rich. I never had to struggle like you did. I never had to make impossible choices. So who am I to judge you? Are you saying... Faith could barely breathe. Are you saying you forgive me? David took her hands. I'm saying that I love you. And love means accepting all of someone, not just the perfect parts. Yes, you made mistakes. Yes, you lied. But you also worked incredibly hard. You became a doctor. You help people every day. You're kind and caring and good. That's the woman I fell in love with. And that's the woman I want to marry. Faith threw her arms around him. She sobbed into his shoulder. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you, thank you, thank you. David held her tight. But we need to talk about everything. Really talk. No more secrets, no more lies. Can you promise me that? I promise, Faith said. No more secrets, ever. They stood there for a moment, just holding each other. Then David pulled back. Come on, he said, wiping her tears. Let's go back out there. What are we going to tell everyone? Faith asked nervously. The truth, David said, that we love each other and that we're going to be okay. They walked back into the hall together. Everyone went quiet when they saw them. All eyes were on them. David took the microphone. I know what just happened was shocking for everyone. Trust me, it was shocking for me too. Some people laughed nervously, others just stared. But I want to say something, David continued. Faith made mistakes. She did things she's not proud of, but she did them to survive, to achieve her dreams. And you know what? She succeeded. She became a doctor. She helps people. She saves lives. That takes incredible strength and determination. Faith stood beside him, holding his hand. I love this woman, David said, looking at her. I love her past, her present, and her future. And if she'll still have me, I want to marry her. Right here. Right now. The room erupted in whispers. Some people looked supportive. Others looked judgmental. But David did not care. So I'm asking you, Faith, David turned to her. Will you marry me? Knowing that I know everything, knowing that we'll face this together. Yes, Faith said, crying happy tears now. Yes, I'll marry you. They turned back to the pastor, who looked completely overwhelmed by everything that had happened. The pastor said, should we continue? Yes, David said firmly, let's continue. But before they could, someone else stepped forward. It was Richard. Wait, Richard said. His voice was loud and clear. I have something to say too. David's mother stood up. Richard, I think you've done enough damage for one day. Please, Richard said, let me speak. Everyone needs to hear this. David nodded. Let him talk. Richard walked to the front. He looked older suddenly, tired, defeated. Everything Faith said is true, Richard began. I did meet her at that club. I did pay her for her company, multiple times over 2 years, and I knew she was doing it for money. I knew she was desperate, and I took advantage of that. People started murmuring again. David's mother looked sick. But there's more you all need to know, Richard continued. His voice was shaking. I am dying. The room went silent. What? David said. What are you talking about? I have cancer, Richard said. Terminal, stage 4. The doctors say I have 2 months left, maybe 3 if I'm lucky. David's mother gasped. Richard, number? Why didn't you tell us? Because I am a coward, Richard said simply. Because I didn't want to face what I'd done, what I'd become. He looked at the crowd. The truth is, my wife and I have not been in a real relationship for years, long before I even met Faith. We separated but never divorced because we didn't want to raise our children in a broken home. So we pretended. We lived separate lives under the same roof. David looked at his mother. Is this true, Mum? She nodded slowly, tears in her eyes. Yes. We thought we were protecting you and your brother. We thought it was better than divorce. I used to go to those clubs," Richard continued. "I used to meet young girls. I told myself I was helping them, giving them money, but really I was taking advantage of their desperation, their poverty, their lack of choices. I was a predator. And maybe that's why God is punishing me now with this disease." "Dad," David said, his voice breaking, "you should have told us. About the cancer, about everything." "I know," Richard said, "but I was ashamed. I am ashamed, and now, seeing Faith again, seeing what I almost destroyed, I realize I need to make this right." He turned to Faith. "I am sorry. I took advantage of you when you were vulnerable. I should have just given you the money. I should have helped you without asking for anything in return. But I didn't. I was selfish, and for that I am truly sorry." Faith did not know what to say. She just nodded. Richard looked at David. "And I am sorry to you, son. I am sorry for the man I've been. I am sorry for the example I set. You are 10 times the man I ever was. You are good and kind and pure. Don't let my sins destroy your happiness." He looked at everyone in the room. "I am leaving today. Going back abroad for treatment. I won't survive, but maybe I can die with a clear conscience. I've confessed my sins. I've asked for forgiveness. That's all I can do." He walked back to his seat. The room was completely silent. No one knew what to say. David's mother was crying. She walked over to Richard. "You should have told me. About the cancer. I would have been there for you, despite everything." "I know," Richard said softly, "but I didn't deserve your kindness. I still don't." She touched his face gently. "Everyone deserves kindness, especially at the end." Then she turned to Faith. She walked over to her slowly. Faith braced herself for anger, for harsh words, for rejection, but David's mother surprised her. She took Faith's hands. "What you did was not right," she said quietly, "but I understand why you did it. I was once a poor girl too, before I married Richard. I know what it's like to be desperate, to feel like you have no choices. So while I don't approve of your methods, I understand your reasons." "Thank you," Faith whispered. "But," David's mother continued, "you hurt my son. You lied to him. That is harder for me to forgive." "I know," Faith said. "I am sorry. I am so sorry." David's mother looked at her son. He was standing there, watching them. "What do you want, David? Do you still want to marry this girl?" "Yes, Mom," David said firmly. "I do." David's mother sighed. Then slowly she smiled. "Then I support you. For your sake, I will forgive her. But Faith, you must promise me something." "Anything," Faith said. "Promise me you will never lie to my son again. Promise me you will be the wife he deserves. Promise me you will love him with all your heart." "I promise," Faith said, tears running down her face. "I swear on everything I hold dear. I will love him. I will be honest. I will be the best wife I can be." David's mother nodded, then she hugged Faith. It was not a warm hug, but it was something. It was a start. Faith's parents came forward too. Her mother was crying. Her father looked old and tired. "I am sorry, Papa," Faith said. "I am sorry I lied to you. I am sorry I brought shame to our family." Her father was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke. "You did what you had to do to survive. I am angry that you lied. But I am also angry at myself. I failed you. I could not provide for you. I forced you into that situation." "No, Papa, it was not your fault." "Let me finish," he said firmly. "I failed as a father. But you did not fail as a daughter. You became a doctor, you made us proud, and now you found a good man who loves you despite everything. So no, I am not ashamed of you. I am proud of you." Faith hugged her father tightly. Her mother joined them. They stood there, a family crying and healing. The pastor cleared his throat. "So, should we continue with the ceremony?" Everyone looked at each other. Then, slowly, people started smiling. Some even laughed. "Yes," David said, taking Faith's hand again. "Yes, let's finish this. We've had enough drama for one day." People returned to their seats. The whispers slowly faded. Sarah fixed Faith's makeup again, whispering, "That was the bravest thing I've ever seen anyone do." Faith and David stood at the altar once more. This time, everything felt different. Lighter. There were no more secrets weighing them down, no more lies hiding in the shadows. The pastor smiled. Well, that was certainly the most eventful ceremony I've ever performed. But I think we can all agree that this marriage is starting on a foundation of truth. And that is a beautiful thing. He turned to David. David, do you take Faith to be your lawfully wedded wife, knowing everything you now know? To love her in sickness and in health, for richer or poorer, for better or worse, as long as you both shall live? David looked into Faith's eyes. I do. With all my heart, I do. And Faith, the pastor said, do you take David to be your lawfully wedded husband? To love him, honor him, and cherish him as long as you both shall live? Faith's voice was strong and clear. I do. Then by the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. David, you may kiss your bride. David pulled Faith close. He kissed her softly, gently, full of love and promise. The room erupted in applause. Some people were crying happy tears. Others were smiling. Even those who had looked judgmental before seemed moved by the moment. When they pulled apart, David whispered in Faith's ear, "We're going to be okay. I promise." "I know," Faith whispered back. "We're going to be more than okay." They turned to face their guests. "Ladies and gentlemen," the pastor announced, "I present to you Mr. and Mrs. David Morrison." More applause, more cheers. The music started playing. David and Faith walked down the aisle together as husband and wife. At the reception, people were celebrating, dancing, eating, drinking. This was a wedding that had been saved by the truth. David's best friend gave a toast. "I've known David my whole life, and I've never seen him happier than he is with Faith. What we witnessed today was not a scandal. It was bravery. It was love. It was two people choosing each other despite everything." People raised their glasses to David and Faith. Later, David found Richard outside, sitting alone on a bench. The sun was setting. "Dad," David said, sitting down beside him. "Son," Richard replied, "you should be with your bride. Not out here with me." "I needed to talk to you," David said, "before you leave." Richard nodded. "I understand if you hate me. What I did, it was unforgivable." "I don't hate you," David said. "I'm angry. I'm disappointed, but you're still my father, and you're dying. I don't want to waste the time we have left being angry." Richard's eyes filled with tears. "I don't deserve your forgiveness." "Maybe not," David said, "but I'm giving it to you anyway. Because that's what love does. It forgives, even when it's hard. Even when it hurts." Richard broke down crying. "I'm so sorry. For everything. For the man I was. For the things I did. You can't change the past," David said. "But you can use whatever time you have left to be better, to make peace, to do good." "I will," Richard promised. "I'll donate money to help girls like Faith. Girls who need help with school. I'll try to make up for the harm I caused." They sat in silence for a while, watching the sunset together. Richard stood up slowly. He looked tired and weak. "I should go. I have a flight to catch, back to the hospital abroad." "Will I see you again?" David asked. "I don't know," Richard said honestly, "but I'll try. I'll try to come back." David hugged his father. "I love you, Dad. Despite everything, I love you." "I love you too, son," Richard whispered. Richard went inside to say goodbye to his wife. Then he came to Faith. "I don't expect you to forgive me," he said quietly, "but you are going to be happy. You deserve to be happy. Don't let my mistakes haunt you. Don't let shame follow you. Live your life without regret." Faith nodded. "Thank you. I hope you find peace." "So do I," Richard said with a sad smile. Then he left. He walked out of the reception hall, got into a car, and drove away. David came up behind Faith and wrapped his arms around her waist. "Are you okay?" "Yeah," Faith said. "I think I am." The rest of the reception went smoothly. People danced, the cake was cut. As the night went on, people forgot about the scandal. They focused on the love. Later, in the car driving to their honeymoon hotel, Faith turned to David. "Do you really think we'll be okay?" David took her hand. "I think we'll be better than okay. We started our marriage with complete honesty. No secrets, no lies." "I love you," Faith said, "so much." "I love you too," David replied. "And I'm proud of you. What you did today took incredible courage. I was so scared. Faith confessed. "I thought I was going to lose you." "You could never lose me," David said. "I'm yours. Forever." They arrived at the hotel. It was beautiful, overlooking the ocean. The room was decorated with flowers and candles. As they stood on the balcony, looking at the stars, Faith felt peace. True, deep peace. "What are you thinking about?" David asked. "I'm thinking about how strange life is," Faith said. "How the worst thing I ever did led me to the best thing in my life. You. I'll choose you every day," Faith promised. "For the rest of my life." They kissed under the stars, two people who had been broken and were now healing together. The next morning, David's mother called. "I wanted to check on you both," she said warmly. "I've had time to think. I meant what I said. I forgive you and I support your marriage. You make my son happy." Faith felt tears in her eyes. "Thank you. That means everything to me." "We're family now," David's mother said, "and family sticks together." Over the next few weeks, life slowly returned to normal. Faith and David moved into their new home together. They decorated, they laughed, they built a life. Yes, there was gossip, but most people were supportive. Faith went back to work at the hospital. One day, a young girl came in. She was 19 and trying to pay for college by working 3 jobs. She was exhausted. Faith saw herself in that girl. She saw the desperation, the impossible choices looming ahead. She went to David's mother. "I need your help," Faith said. Together, they set up a scholarship fund for poor girls trying to get through medical school. They called it the Second Chance Foundation. The young girl was their first recipient. When they told her, she cried. "Why are you helping me?" "Because someone should have helped me," Faith said simply. "And now I can help you." David was proud of her. "You're turning your pain into purpose," he said. Months passed. They were happy. Then one night, David's mother called. "It's Richard. He's gone. He passed away this morning." They held each other and cried. They flew abroad for the funeral. At the funeral, they learned that Richard had donated most of his money to charities helping vulnerable young women. He was trying to make amends, David's mother said. David found a letter Richard had left for him. It said, "My dear son, I'm proud of you. You are everything I should have been but wasn't. You married a woman who is strong and brave. Treasure her, love her the way I never loved your mother. My biggest regret is not being a better man, but my greatest joy is knowing that you are. Live well, my son. Be happy. Your love, Dad." David cried when he read it. Faith held him. "He tried," David said. At the end, he really tried. They returned home with closure. Richard was at peace now. A year later, Faith discovered she was pregnant. When their daughter was born, they named her Hope. David wrapped his arms around both of them. "We're going to give her everything. Not just money, but time, attention, values, love." Years passed. They had 2 more children. They grew the Second Chance Foundation until it helped hundreds of girls. They were happy. Sometimes, when Faith looked back at her wedding day, she marveled at how close she came to losing everything. But she had been brave. She had told the truth, and that truth had set her free. People still talked about their wedding sometimes. It had become a local legend. Some told it as a scandal. Others told it as a love story. Faith knew which version was true. It was a love story. A story about 2 imperfect people who chose each other despite everything. Who built something beautiful out of broken pieces. And that was the greatest gift of all. My besties, are you living with a secret that's holding you back from true happiness? Faith's story shows us that honesty, no matter how painful, is always better than living a lie. Real love doesn't demand perfection, it demands truth. If you find yourself moved by this journey of courage, forgiveness, and second chances, share this story with someone who needs to hear that their past doesn't define their future. Subscribe to my channel if you loved the story.